Let's start with a question that would have sounded absolutely insane 2000 years ago. What would Jesus think about weed? And now, before anyone starts typing any angry comments, hear me out. This is not going to be one of those videos where I spend 10 minutes yelling yes or no and then I leave, because the truth is a little more complicated than that. The Bible never directly says, "Thou shalt not smoke marijuana." And it also doesn't say, "Go forth and get absolutely baked." So if the Bible doesn't directly answer the question, how should I, as a Christian and other Christians, interpret it? So let's talk about it. First, let's clear something up. Did Jesus smoke weed? No evidence says that he did. The Bible never mentions it, no historical records mention it, nothing. So if you're looking for a verse where Jesus and the disciples pass around a joint after the Last Supper, you're not going to find one. I'm sorry. But the more interesting question isn't whether Jesus smoked weed. The real question is, would he approve of it? And that is where things get interesting, because while the Bible doesn't specifically discuss marijuana, it does talk about a lot of things like self control, sobriety, wisdom, and how we use our bodies. So let's start with one of the biggest arguments Christians make against recreational weed. The Bible repeatedly encourages believers to be sober minded. For example, Christians are told to be alert, self controlled, and watchful. And now think about why people usually smoke weed, recreationally, of course. Most aren't doing it because they want sharper focus. Nobody says, "You know what would really help me solve this math problem? Losing track of which room I'm in." So the purpose is often to alter your mental state, right? To feel different, to feel high. And many Christians argue that intentionally impairing your judgment conflicts with the Bible's emphasis on self-control. And now, on the other hand, some Christians they respond, "Hold on, Jesus he drank wine. The Bible doesn't ban all substance." And they're right. Jesus he did drink wine. In fact, one of his most famous miracles involved turning water into wine. So the issue isn't necessarily whether a substance exists. The issue is how it's being used. Let's use a simple example. Food is good. Food is a gift. But if someone eats so much that it controls their life, that's a problem. Money can be good, but if money becomes your master, that's a problem. Even good things can become unhealthy when they take control of us. And many Christians believe the same principles applies to marijuana. The question becomes, are you controlling it? Or is it controlling you? And then there's another important issue. Why are you using it? And honestly, this might be one of the biggest questions of all. Are you using it medically under proper guidance? Are you using it because of chronic pain? Are you using it because of a severe illness? Or are you using it to escape reality, to avoid problems, to numb pain you don't want to deal with? Those aren't necessarily the same situations, and many Christians would see a difference between them. Now, let's talk about something Jesus cared deeply about: the heart. One thing you'll notice when reading the Gospel is that Jesus constantly looked beyond people's action and focused on their motivations. Not just what are you doing, but why are you doing it? And that is a harder question because it requires honesty. And if someone can't go a day without getting high, that's worth examining. If someone feels dependent on weed just to function, that's worth examining. If something has become more important than God, that is definitely worth examining. And here's another thing. A lot of people ask, how close can I get to sin without actually sinning? But Jesus, he often flipped the question around. Instead of asking what's the minimum requirement, he challenged people to ask, does this help me become the person God wants me to be? And that's a different question entirely, because now we're not just asking if something is allowed, we're asking if it's beneficial. And let's be honest, people don't always like that question, because sometimes we want God to give us a simple list: yes, no, next question. But life isn't always that simple, and many Christian decisions require wisdom, prayer, self reflection, honesty, and sometimes conversations with the mature believers you trust. So what would Jesus think about weed? The truth is, we can't put words in his mouth. The Bible never records Jesus talking about marijuana. Anyone claiming otherwise is making assumptions. So all I can do is look at the principles he taught: self-control, wisdom, honesty, love for God, care for others, a transformed life, and then we can ask ourselves, does my use of weed align with these values, or does it pull me away from them? For some Christians, that question leads them to avoid marijuana completely. For others, it leads them to a more nuanced position, especially regarding medical use. But regardless of where someone lands, the goal shouldn't be winning an argument online. The goal should be sincerely seeking God's will. At the end of the day, Christianity isn't mainly about finding loopholes. It's about following Christ. And that's a much bigger challenge than answering one question about weed. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more videos about Christianity, faith, history, and the questions people are often too afraid to ask. And let me know in the comments, what do you think Jesus would say about marijuana? Maybe he was a big stoner himself, I don't know. I'll see you in the next video.